Hoodwink, swindle, bamboozle. Am I reading something for a 1930s private eye? At least he's paying me. Hello, people of the internet. Have you heard of QAnon? It's a scam, a swindle, a con. It's a three-card Monty. These folks are pulling the wool over your eyes, playing you for a sucker, hitting you with the old razzle-dazzle. And the man to tell you about it is here. From the Poker and Politics Twitter feed, it's the Exit Through the Grift Shop podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Exit Through the Grift Shop podcast. Today, I was going to talk about the Q idea of we're the only cult that tells you to think for yourself. And to take that and smash it against the wall, that is Alex Acosta, the man that let Jeffrey Epstein walk with a sweetheart deal that was literally illegal, as judges have declared it to be. And Alex has had himself quite a day today. He went on Twitter to defend what he did in the incredibly latent sentence that Jeffrey Epstein got for his crimes previously. And then he had a press conference where he tried to once again explain and defend why he did what he did. And that didn't go over very well. And the Florida prosecutors came out and said that he was lying about them blowing the case, and he had to swoop in and salvage it and cut Epstein a deal so that Epstein would ever see any jail time at all. And just basically, Acosta looks terrible. There's no reason for him to still be Secretary of Labor right now. There was no reason for him to be Secretary of Labor at all, ever. And yet he is Secretary of Labor, and we're stuck with him until he either obtains the ability to actually feel shame and resigns, or Trump gets rid of him, which also seems like it's going to be tough to do because Trump really doesn't care if you're a terrible monster as long as you make him feel good about himself and blow smoke up his ass. So this is where we are, and what this does is it creates a bunch of cognitive dissonance for QAnon, because when they like to tell you that they're the only cult that thinks for themselves, they leave a very important part of the equation out of that statement. And that part of the equation is that Donald Trump is always right. Donald Trump is always right. He is always good. Everything he does furthers the plan and gets us closer and closer to the storm. So whatever it is Trump's doing, it's good. It's working. We totally abide by it. We totally stand with him. Donald Trump is infallible. When you have someone who's infallible, this narrows the options that you have for thinking. Because once you've made it clear that Donald Trump cannot make a mistake, you can't think that anymore. When you see Donald Trump do something and you say, ooh, that was a bad look, or, oh, I don't know if he should have done that, you have to catch yourself. You have to recognize that you are the one making the mistake. You are the one who is screwing up. Donald Trump cannot screw up. Donald Trump is perfect. Your questioning of Donald Trump's perfection, that's the mistake. And that mentality, that mindset, makes it such that these people are twisting themselves in knots trying to come up with a justification or rationalization for why Alex Acosta is still Secretary of Labor. They talk to me about this guy all the time, and they come up with all kinds of ridiculous, convoluted nonsense. They say things like, oh, Trump made him Secretary of Labor so that when the Epstein case came out, it would expose more attention to it and get people more interested in what's going on, and people would be talking about it, and it would be a big scandal. A billionaire who has connections to a former president in Bill Clinton and the current president in Donald Trump probably didn't need to have the Secretary of Labor involved as a important figure in this whole conversation to garner eyeballs and clicks, as it were. The idea that Donald Trump appointed Alex Acosta to be Secretary of Labor, knowing that sometime down the line, Epstein was eventually going to get pinched, and that, oh man, it's going to look real good when we got Alex Acosta here squirming under the hot lights as the press is asking him all kinds of questions about why he did what he did all those years ago. This does not strike me as being very plausible. And then when I keep bringing this up to people, I get the cliche, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. As if that makes any sense. You don't give your enemies powerful positions inside your administration. Alex Acosta literally has authority over human trafficking in America. That's one of the sections of power that the Secretary of Labor has. And this is a man who let a child sex trafficker off with a slap on the wrist. And we are now watching this guy just ruin himself in the public eye as he tries to justify and defend why he let that happen. And I've heard people say that Acosta is currently being squeezed by Q for information, and that the Secretary of Labor job is a carrot that's being dangled in front of him, that he gets to keep it if he squeals good enough and gives up the dirt on all the deep staters. That Acosta may be part of the swamp, but he's a part of the swamp that Trump has grabbed and twisted, and is going to get the information that we need to bring the rest of the swamp down with. And it's this ridiculous kind of mental gymnastics that shows you that these people can't think for themselves, that Q does not allow you to think for yourself, because to think for yourself in this situation is to look at Alex Acosta and say, this guy is terrible. Trump never should have appointed him as Secretary of Labor. He should have resigned months ago when the illicit deal that he struck with Epstein was revealed. Never mind waiting until now when Epstein is indicted on more charges. Yet, here we are. He's still in power. And these people are still defending him. You go look at the big Twitter QAnon supporters, Joe M., Jordan Sather, Dustin Nemo, Educating Liberals, Praying Medic, Rod Sneaky, whatever. You look at all these guys, and they're not talking about Alex Acosta. They don't bring him up. He doesn't exist in their world. He is a blind spot. Because talking about Alex Acosta means having to confront some harsh truths. Truths they don't want to deal with. Because Alex Acosta is a real bad look. He's not a good guy. He did a terrible thing. He did a thing that strikes at the very heart of QAnon. Because they all tell you all the time, they're here to protect the children. They are here to save the children. That's the point of this whole mission. That's the goal. I mean, toppling the deep state and throwing all the satanic pedivores into Gitmo is a part of it. But right there, the whole pedivore thing, these people are monsters. They eat children. They sacrifice children to Moloch. They're inhumanly evil and terrible and bad, and we have to stop them. And stopping them will free the children from their satanic clutches. Alex Acosta literally let a child sex trafficker escape. This is a thumb in the eye to everything they stand for and believe in. And Donald Trump has let this man remain his Secretary of Labor. So this is the cognitive dissonance they're dealing with. Because on the one hand, you have the infallible Donald Trump, and on the other hand, you have a sign of his gross fallibility. And they are left to try to reconcile the two. and they really can't, so they spin and they sputter and they dodge and they dip and they try to work out every kind of convoluted, nonsensical justification for why they're doing what they're doing, because they cannot violate the true core tenet of QAnon, and that is that Donald Trump is infallible. The kids, they can go to the sidelines when it comes down to the total, final, ultimate truth of the movement. And that is that Donald Trump is good, righteous, and noble. And only his actions will save us from the deep state. Whatever those actions are, no matter how convoluted they are, no matter how much they don't look like good actions, they will in the end be revealed as good actions. You can trust in that. You have to trust in Donald Trump. Trust the plan, as they like to repeat ad nauseum. This is what QAnon truly is all about. And thus, it is impossible to think for yourself. Because the moment you put restrictions on what is allowed to be thought and what is not allowed to be thought, you are telling people that they don't get to think for themselves. The Warhammer 40k universe jokingly brings this up a lot because they have a theocratic world, and in that world, the biggest crime is heresy. And if you commit heresy, you'll be executed by the world church, as it were. And I'm sure that there's someone who knows the Warhammer 40k mythos better than me, and they'll scream and yell about what I'm actually saying there, because I'm butchering it, but them's the breaks. The general idea is what I'm going for here, and that is that there is heresy in QAnon. And if you commit heresy in QAnon, you are out. You are gone. Try it. Say to someone, I don't know why Trump hasn't fired Alex Acosta yet. I don't get it. We're trying to save the babies. Acosta let Epstein walk. That's terrible. He needs to go now. Questioning Trump is questioning QAnon. People will not agree with you on the idea that Trump is making a mistake. Because if Trump is capable of making mistakes, then there's no point in believing in all this nonsense anyways. Because the whole idea of getting yourself whipped up into a lather in support of Donald Trump is that you are supporting a messianic figure. You are supporting God's chosen warrior to lead the forces of light into the ultimate battle of good and evil. And when you decide that, maybe, I don't know this guy, maybe you shouldn't have hired certain people, I don't know. Maybe you shouldn't have done this or that, I don't know. If you try to bring up mistakes, then you're not trusting the plan. You're not really on our side, comrade. What you're thinking might be considered in some communities to be heresy. And that's how this works. You're allowed to think what you want, just so long as you don't think the wrong things. And this doesn't exist really on the left, in non-conspiracy world. There are plenty of people I know who have all kinds of bones to pick with Barack Obama and the way he handled his presidency. There was no QAnon back when Obamacare was being passed that was telling everyone that Obamacare was flawless, sublime, and perfect, and that we all needed to accept it because it was going to usher in the glorious victory over whatever we would have called the deep state back then. And those things just didn't exist. There was plenty of people who wanted Medicare for all or a public option or this, that, and the other thing. There was all kinds of argument and debate from the far left to the middle left to the center and so on. And of course, if you were on the right, Obama was just a Muslim Kenyan usurper and all that kind of stuff. So whatever on that front. But this is the thing, is that there really isn't that kind of mentality where you have a leader that cannot fail. And I'm sure people will tell me I'm wrong and that there's all these people in the world who think that Hillary Clinton was perfect, or that Elizabeth Warren or Kamala Harris or Bernie Sanders or Joe Biden are perfect. And to those people, I would like to say, please read primary Democratic Party Twitter some. And boy, howdy, will you be dissuaded from that worldview, unless you just are incredibly jaded and don't want to ever admit that you don't have the right of it when it comes to things like this. But in Trump world, it's very black and white. Good, evil. That's it. No middle ground. Deep state is monolithically bad. Patriots are monolithically good. And you really can't argue for anything else. As a result, it makes the thinking of QAnon incredibly binary. You can't think about any sort of gray areas or just, I don't know, characters that are more complex than just me good, me bad. I mean, that's it. This is a coloring book. It's a very mentally challenging product that is put out there for people that don't really want to think too hard to consume. It is just there to inflame, infuriate, and radicalize. And also sell some books and some shirts and some hats. That's the point. This isn't meant to be a really tough mental exercise. It's only a mental exercise if you want to go digging and start working on Q proofs and that kind of stuff. Otherwise, it's just time to sit back, relax, watch some Pamphlet Anon streams, read some Praying Medic threads, all that kind of stuff, and just let it wash over you. Just let the confirmation bias and the pleasing lies just rain down upon you like a waterfall. Because that's the good life. That's the life you want to live as a QAnon supporter who truly does not want to engage reality. And to that I say you're going to be very disappointed, because reality is cruelly in charge of the world. And the reality is that Alex Acosta is not a good guy. Donald Trump is not a good guy. Evidenced by the fact that he hired Alex Acosta to be his Secretary of Labor. And however this Epstein thing shakes out, whoever gets busted as a result of this thing, that's fine with me. Whoever traffics in children should go to jail and have the key thrown away, as they say. It's just simply, for me, I want to see the evidence. I want to see where this goes. I want to see what happens. I am not happy at all at the idea of AG Barr saying, oh, I'm totally recused from the Epstein case, and then being like, psych, not at all recused from the Epstein case. Suckers, I'm back, baby. That isn't suspect at all. Of course, again, QAnon community ain't really talking about that because that doesn't look great. And they're so happy and they're so celebrating this because they think they've won. They think they've done something great, and they really haven't. This was done by reporters. This was done by the attorneys from the Southern District of New York. This was done by people actually in the field, actually putting in work. People busting out sick memes of an incorrectly named George Nader, or Nadler, however you say his name, hanging out with Bill Clinton, the wrong guy. Or the photo of Bill Clinton and Rachel Chandler not on Jeffrey Epstein's plane. It's a different guy's plane. Those people did not solve this puzzle. They did not crack this case open. They did not put in the work to get this done. They're not involved. They get no credit. If they could get anything, it's blame. It's blame for pretending they're part of the solution when they're part of the problem. And again, these people, they're not going to change their ways. They're stuck in their ways. They are positive this thing only goes one way. And then as Epstein goes down and he takes every Democrat in Hollywood and the government down with him, and then the conservative utopia springs forth and America is truly made great again. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to just be ugly. If Epstein can make it ugly, which I think is pretty much his goal at this point because he's looking at life in prison, and he's going to try to get his way out of that. So we're going to see how that shakes out. And while we see that shake out, we're going to get a real hard look at the whole confirmation bias of QAnon, the infallibility of Trump principle, and how steadfast and determined they're going to be to maintain that. Because no matter what else, that is it. That is the rock this movement is built upon. The foundation of everything is that Donald Trump cannot fail. He can only be failed. Alex Acosta failed him. Donald Trump isn't firing him, but that's because Donald Trump's playing 12-dimensional chess. You just don't understand it. It's all going to come out soon enough. Then you'll see. Then you'll understand Donald Trump's bold vision for allowing the man who enabled the child sex trafficker to remain free. You'll see. You'll get it in the long run. By the way, we're all dead in the long run. I want to see this all sorted out in the short run. Shorter the better. Fire Alex Acosta. Leave QAnon. Go outside. Take a jog. Breathe the fresh air. Live a better life. I'll talk to y'all later.